Hello, everyone. This is Jeffrey Kerr back here with Alex Meyer. We've already discussed our Golden Globe predictions on the film side. Now we're about to get into the TV categories. So we'll be going through each of them one by one, starting with the drama categories. And first up is Best Television Series Drama. And Alex, read off the nominees.
All right, and the nominees are The Americans, Bodyguard, Homecoming, Killing Eve, and Pose.
Okay, so when it comes to the TV categories at the Globes, in a series race, they usually like to award the first year show, especially before anyone else, so that they can at least put it on people's radar, whether it be audiences, or the industry, or even Emmy voters for that matter. So in that case, I have Homecoming winning this. How about you?
Well, I know I predicted Homecoming in my nomination predictions, but just because there seems to be a lot of love for this show, as well as a lot of people wanting it to win, and the fact that one of its stars is hosting, I'm predicting Killing Eve will win.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that is possible. I mean, I definitely notice a lot of people on Gold Derby predicting that. Though then, I mean, I definitely see it being possible. But then again, I mean,
Plus, there is plus there is the diversity factor, not just with the fact that you have two women playing roles that you most often see men play in a show like this, of like spy versus assassin. Plus, of course, there's the fact that Sandra Oh is one of the leads, and you don't often see women of Asian descent in a lead role in a TV show like this, because usually, frequently, people of color are often relegated to supporting roles in these kinds of shows. So, for the diversity, if they do want to honor diversity, I think this is one of the strongest categories for them to do so, as well as the actress category. Plus,
hmm.
the fact that Sandra Oh herself is one of the hosts of the show, I
Of
think
the
couldn't
Golden Globes, to be clear.
couldn't hurt either, because I've noticed that a lot of award shows, often when the someone is hosting, it often seems to either boost their show's chance or their own chance. Like, looking at other awards, David Hyde Pierce won his third Emmy for Frasier at the 1999 Emmys when he was hosting it that year, and Hugh Jackman won his only Tony Award, well, at least competitive
Competitive.
Tony Award, because I know he won a special one some years later when
That
he
was presented by his wife, of all people.
right. Well, the special award, not his own
Well,
competitive
yeah,
award.
well, yes, but thank goodness for that because we talk about how problematic it can be to have presenters presenting an award they have special interest in.
Right. But yeah, no, Hugh Jackman won his Tony for The Boy from Oz at the 2004 Tony Awards, which he also hosted. And
Well,
then, of
yes.
course, and while he didn't win at the Oscars, James Franco hosted the Oscars when he was a Best Actor nominee for 127 Hours.
Well, yeah, and not to mention Kristen Chenoweth was a Tony nominee who did not win for On the 20th Century the year she co-hosted the Tonys.
Right. Although I remember I did predict her to win.
Same here, but of course a lot of us knew that Kelly O'Hara was competitive, especially given her overdue narrative. But you know,
But we knew a tight race between the two of them,
yeah.
and it's tight races like that, which is why I believe all award shows should publicly release the number of votes each nominee received. You don't have to reveal who specifically voted for them, but if it truly was a nail-biting race between Kelly O'Hara and Kristen Chenoweth, I want to know just how many votes did she beat her by. Was it
Well,
like
I remember the New York Times voter poll indicated that Kelly was slightly ahead, but was still too close to the call of the Tony voters they interviewed.
right, which is why I would want an exact number, just to know, did she beat her by only like 2 votes, 10 votes? Because rumor has it that not Judy Garland, Grace Kelly won for the Country Girl over Judy Garland from A Star Is Born by only a very, very narrow margin of votes.
Well, yeah, yeah. We should see if what happens with Lady Gaga this year.
Yes. So, but
So
anyway, we've
now
gone
back,
we've gone way off track here.
yeah. So back to best drama series at the Globes.
So I have Killing Eve winning, not just all the things I said. Plus, it was a show that celebrated women right after the Me Too movement started taking place, and so that could, I think, boost its chances. But I do think Homecoming is in a tight race in second place. So I think it does have a strong chance to pull an upset. Then I have The Americans in third, just because it's never really, well, I mean, it did get in last year, but it's never really won here before, so I don't know how
And
much.
it is fresh off of its success at the Emmys.
Yeah. And then I have Pose in fourth because it's a Ryan Murphy show and it's very diverse, including with the largest number of transgender actors any TV show has ever had. And then I have Bodyguard in fifth.
Okay. Well, like I said, I have a Homecoming winning, though I did just move Killing Eve in my second place rankings, especially given what's going on in Best Drama and Actress, which we'll get to. Though I actually have a Pose in third because of the Ryan Murphy factor coupled with the diversity factor. And, and not to mention, we'll talk a little more about this in the next category, but, it could be a threat to win there, but in any case, yeah, Americans fourth, Bodyguard fifth.
All right. So now we move on to TV drama actor.
Okay, the nominees are Jason Bateman, Ozark, Stephan James, Homecoming, Richard Madden, Bodyguard, Billy Porter, Pose, and Matthew Rhys, The Americans. So, okay, and as of right now, the current rankings are Gold Derby. Richard Madden is apparently ranked very high with 39 to 10 odds.
Maybe it's my predictions say he's 4-1.
Well, I think you might need to I think you need to check the current odds right now.
I'm going off one. I clicked on my predictions page and it's giving me all my things at once, so I don't have to click on one from the other, so I can just see them all together.
Well, I mean, I'm on my predictions as well, though you can edit from there.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, I actually have
winning.
I have Matthew Rhys winning. I think this will be the one category the Americans will win if they do feel they need to honor it now that it is off the air. Plus, he's British, but he's playing a Russian posing as an American. Plus, of course, he's probably one of the most high-profile candidates on the list, given his movie appearances and recent things like The Post.
And he's also reteaming with Tom Hanks on that Mr. Rogers biopic.
Mm-hmm. But I actually have. I mean, I don't know how your rankings are, but I have Jason Bateman in second place.
Wow. I mean, I believe he was my prediction to win last year.
Mainly because, I kind of thought Ozark would be one of those shows that would be strong in its first season and then kind of fade away. But no, it seems to be doing quite the opposite, getting even bigger buzz. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to the SAG Awards, because that was quite a surprise. And so clearly people are still watching the show. And
I'd still respect him even after the Jeffrey Tambor thing.
Mm-hmm. But then I have Stephan James in third, and in my video of the Golden Globe nominees, I accidentally called him Steven because I wasn't sure how to pronounce his first name.
Well, yeah, plus he also has the visibility factor, given that he's in the Best Motion Picture Drama nominee if Beale Street Could Talk.
Mm-hmm. And then I have Billy Porter in fourth place, and then Richard Madden in fifth.
Okay, well, my lineup is very interesting. For the moment, I have Billy Porter winning this for Pose, given that, diversity factor, he's in a first-year show that could potentially win, and, again, we're seeing that, Hollywood Foreign Press, when it comes to TV categories, they like to award the first-year shows, and, I could see Richard Madden winning this, since Bodyguard is also a drama series nominee, and he's British. But I'm kind of unsure where to go right now. I have Billy Porter winning, though my following rankings. Here's my following rankings: Billy Porter, Matthew Rhys, Richard Madden, Stephan James, and Jason Bateman.
All right. Yeah, I mean, who knows how this category will go?
Yeah, so now on to Best Drama Actress, which is the first of the two TV categories I have my super bet on.
All right. Hold on, where's my thing here? Okay, here it is. And the nominees are Katrina Balfe, Outlander; Elizabeth Moss, The Handmaid's Tale; Sandra Oh, Killing Eve; Julia Roberts, Homecoming; and Kerry Russell, The Americans.
And I have Julia Roberts winning this for Homecoming. I mean, she's pretty much the definition of a Golden Globe winner in this category. She's the movie star who came to television in a first-year show, and so it's just one I could just see the Globes easily gravitating towards. Though I do have Sandra Oh in second, given that she's, well, the only person of color among the nominees, as well as also in a first-year show that's up for drama series and co-host of this year's Golden Globes with Andy Samberg.
I have Sandra Oh winning just because of the fact that if I think Killing Eve will win drama series, then they'll have to give it to her as well. Plus, she's
Well,
co-hosting, which could increase her win. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, Amy Poehler did win a Globe for Parks and Recreation during the second time she hosted with Tina Fey. I forgot to mention her.
oh yeah, and well yeah, and your case of if Killing Eve's winning drama series, it has to win here for Sandra Oh. That's the same case I have for Homecoming.
Hmm. Plus, I mean, Homecoming. I mean, it's certainly got a lot of good reviews, but it just doesn't seem to have a lot of the buzz that Killing Eve has had and has managed to continue having, even though it's finished its season quite a while ago.
And Homecoming is much more recent, and plus, let's face it, I believe Amazon Prime is overdue for a drama series win at the Globes.
I believe it is, yes, but Killing Eve airs on BBC America and it takes place all over the world, so there's a lot of international things going on. Plus, it deals with international politics, so it's very accessible to people like the HFPA. Um, and then, but I do have Julia Roberts in second place, and then I have Kerry Russell in third, then Elizabeth Moss in fourth, and then Katrina Balfe in fifth.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. My overall rankings are Julie Roberts, Sandra Oh, Kerry Russell, Katrina Balfe, and Elizabeth Moss.
Well, I have Elizabeth Moss in higher than Katrina Balfe simply because, um, well, Katrina Balfe is Outlander's only nomination this year, and even though The Handmaid's Tale did generate some controversy with its second season, Elizabeth Moss still received a lot of praise for her performance. And if there was anyone who felt that she was robbed at the Emmys this year, I could see them wanting to make it up to her here, although I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, that's also, I forgot to mention that about Sandra Oh. I know there were many people who wanted to see her win at the Emmys, even though it was
I
severe.
believe Sam Ekman even predicted her.
Right. So if Globe voters feel they want to make it up to her for losing at the Emmys, I think this is the prime place for them to do it. And if Sandra Oh does win here, I could possibly see her winning again at the Critics' Choice and maybe even at SAG too.
Okay, so yeah, so I guess we'll see how it turns out. But then again, in fact, for those watching this, when you're making your Golden Globe predictions in the TV categories, especially the acting races, always pay attention to okay, who's the movie star among the nominees because because those tend to have a great shot of winning.
Right, but I have a feeling the Globes will want to move kind of away from that, and I'm sure they'll honor some big people, but I feel they're trying to move away from not just automatically giving it to the movie star every time because they face a lot of backlash when they do that.
Well, we shall see what happens, and not to mention that Julia Roberts did get a lot of acclaim for her, I guess now small screen debut.
True, which is why I have her in second place, but I just feel that with all the buzz Killing Eve had and the fact that it, puts women in roles that men usually play and that it's a very international series and that, Sandra Oh didn't win at the Emmys, I think that gives it much more clout, I guess.
Okay, so oh yeah, and I guess I guess I have Katarina Balfe ranked higher than Elizabeth Moss, mainly because Elizabeth just won last year, and they don't need to give. Well, as coupled with the fact that *Handmaid's Tale* failed to make the cut for drama series, and I guess I have Katarina ranked a little higher also because, well, there appears to be some sort of rooting factor for her to win for Outlander.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. While I know Outlander has really passionate fans, particularly from like some Gold Derby people, and
Like
they seem like
Robert LaCuria.
right. I mean, they like worship that show almost like it's a religion. Um, it just hasn't. Outlander just really hasn't gotten a lot of awards love overall, and I don't see how it's really going to get any better for the show. So, um, plus it's on the Stars network, which isn't a very acclaimed network, to be honest.
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to the Emmys.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the comedy series category.
Okay, then the nominees there are Barry, The Good Place, Kidding, The Kaminsky Method, and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I'll say right away, I have The Kaminsky Method winning this.
I have the marvelous Mrs. Maisel pulling off a repeat win here.
Okay, and explain because I mean, it did just recently debut, so yeah, it's fresh into people's minds. But then again, we rarely see repeats at the Globes. But make your case.
Well, this is we have seen a show featuring a woman in the lead role win 2 times in a row. We saw that with Homeland earlier this decade. So clearly, the Globes like shows that feature strong female characters, which is what Mrs. Maisel, I guess, would fit into. Because and kind of like Killing Eve, it's about a woman holding a profession that's we usually see done by a man in most of these things, and it's set in a time when there were almost no female stand-up comedians at all. Plus, it's got a lot. The second season's been gotten a lot of the same acclaim as the first season. Plus, it just dropped a couple of weeks ago, so it's the most fresh out of all these nominees. Um, and plus, it's nominated in a ton of other categories. So if it's got that much love in its second season, and as and unlike The Handmaid's Tale, which featured a massive drop off here, unlike last year, I think that is a good signal that it could pull off a repeat win here. And also, you know, due to if Globes voters want to put politics into this, which I'm sure they will for some categories, we've have the Me Too movement going on. And of course, recently as we saw with like the midterm elections, we saw a record number of women being elected to Congress, something that, and of course, back in the time of Mrs. Maisel, there were almost no female politicians. So the show kind of is a nice mirror of where we were versus where we are now.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
and plus it's going to win in a couple of other categories, which is why I think it boosts its chances here.
Oh, well, we'll talk more about that when we get to them. But yeah, as for my overall rankings, Kaminsky Method, Barry, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Kidding, and The Good Place.
All right. Well, so what's your reason for the Kaminsky Method winning?
Well, again, it's the first tier show. It has potential to win in one of the other categories, which we'll get to. And, well, again, it's a recent of the first tier shows in contention is the most recent, so that helps.
Mm-hmm. But plus, it's got big movie stars like Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin.
Well, yes. Well, again, we'll be getting to those when we get to their categories. So, is there anything else you'd like to ask about my rankings?
Nope. But
Okay.
I do have the rest of mine. I have Marvelous Mrs. Maisel winning. Then I have Barry, The Kaminsky Method, The Good Place, and then Kidding.
Okay, so now on to Best Actor in a Television Series Comedy, or musical for that matter. But so I believe your turn to read off the nominees.
Yep, and the nominees are Sacha Baron Cohen, Who is America, Jim Carrey, Kidding, Michael Douglas, The Kaminsky Method, Donald Glover, Atlanta, and Bill Hader, Barry.
I'm sorry?
And this is where I have the first of my two super bets. I am going to go out on a limb and predict Bill Hader will win here.
Oh, Well, that is definitely possible. He isn't my second place choice, though. I actually have Michael Douglas winning, which kind of segues to the Kaminsky Method winning comedy series. Again, the Globe voters usually love to award first year shows. Kaminsky Method is a first year show, and Michael Douglas is not only a movie star but acting legend. Like it almost seems like the obvious choice Globe voters would go for, and also pairing those two up it seems to make sense to me.
Hmm. Well, I have Bill Hader winning because he did pull off a surprise win at the Emmys,
Yes,
and
he did.
so and and Barry has been ranked by many critics as one of the best TV shows of the past year, and I haven't really seen any of them put the Kaminsky Method in their best list. So I think the
Well,
Kaminsky,
that
I think
well
Barry is.
then again, we've seen Globe voters, mainly rewarding first year shows just to try to put them as much on people's radars as much as possible.
But Barry is a first year show as well.
Well, yes, but although it debuted earlier in the year.
True, but um, yeah, but I just think Barry has more prestige to it because, well, I mean, I know Barry and the Kaminsky Method both involve the world of acting, but I think Barry might be a little more interesting because you have a hitman who's now trying to become an actor, which is a premise that could have been done wrong and could have bombed horribly, but according to critics, it hasn't. And I think Barry is also going to win another category when we
Which
get
I
to that.
actually do have.
And so I figure if you give it to Henry Winkler, which I do predict will happen, then you have to give it to Bill Hader as well, considering that
And
they both
when
won at the they both won at the Emmys and their characters frequently play off one another according to what they say about the show. I don't really see how you can reward one without the other.
and
But
wouldn't that also kind of make Barry a big threat to win comedy series?
yes, which is why I have it in second place behind Marvelous Mrs. Maisel
Hmm.
over the commit and why I have it higher than the Kaminsky Method.
Okay.
But I do have Michael Douglas in second place just because of the whole movie star factor and being most recent show on here. And then I have Donald Glover in third, Jim Carrey in fourth, and then Sacha Baron Cohen in fifth.
Okay, I actually have Donald Glover ranked in last, mainly because, well, his show Atlanta, well, very much underperformed at this year's Globes. He's the only nomination for it. Plus, he already won in this category 2 years ago, so the Globers may not feel the need to give him another one. Third, so yeah, as you can tell, third I have Jim Carrey, especially since his show Kidding did surprisingly make the cut for a comedy series, and fourth Sacha Baron Cohen. While he is the only nomination, he's at least in a first tier show, and it's definitely interesting that he'll be at the Globes at the same time as Bohemian Rhapsody, considering how he was set to play Freddie Mercury at one point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just have Sacha Baron Cohen in last place because his show really isn't like a traditional show, which is kind of all the more shocking why he's nominated here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
plus I have Donald Glover higher just because maybe some voters might feel that he was robbed at the Emmys since he was considered the front runner to win, particularly for the Teddy Perkins episode. So if they feel they need to make it up to him, I think he has a stronger chance, although I don't think he will win just because he's the only nominee from Atlanta this time.
Yeah, plus he's already had his success at the Globes 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so now on to Best Comedy Actress. The nominees are Kristen Bell, The Good Place, Candice Bergen, Murphy Brown, Alison Brie, Glow, Rachel Brosnahan, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Deborah Messing, Will and Grace.
All right, so I think Rachel Brosnahan will win again because she's fresh off her Emmy win, and this new season just dropped, and it's just as critically acclaimed as the first. So, and since I predict the show is going to win as well, I don't see how she won't win it either. With it.
Yeah, that's a good case. I do have Rachel up high, though in second place, because in first I actually have Kristen Bell winning for The Good Place.
Well, she is my second place choice, but I mean, the Good Place. I mean, it's gotten quite a lot of praise and everything, but I just if the marvelous Mrs. Maisel wasn't in such strong contention again this year, then I think she'd have an easier time winning. But with The Good Place, I expected it to be nominated for a lot more than it actually was. Like, it got nominated for the show and for Kristen Bell, but they snubbed Ted Danson, and I thought he would have been a lock for a nomination.
Well. Still, I mean, I could just see Kristen Bell pulling like a Tracy Ellis Ross when she won for Blackish, where her show was not a first-year show; it was already on for a couple of years, but she still won as way of HFP members at least giving the series an acting prize in this exact same category.
Yeah. Well, but it's just that I think sometimes Golden Globe voters sometimes they'll like a specific actress so much that they'll just frequently reward her for almost anything she does. I mean, Claire Danes won 4 Golden Globes for My So-Called Life, Temple Grandin, and then 2 for Homeland. And then Sarah Jessica Parker, I think she won 4 times for Sex in the City alone. Like, she would win again and again and again, like year after year. So
That's true. Though we haven't seen it in the last couple of years.
No, but I could see Rachel Brosnahan falling into that category of Globe voters loving her so much that they'll frequently give her the win.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could also say the same thing about Helen Hunt. I mean, the Globes gave her three awards for Mad About You, and a fourth on the film side for As Good as It Gets.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. So, but I do have Kristen Kristen Bell in second place, but then I have Alison Brie in third, Deborah Messing in fourth, and Candice Bergen in fifth.
Okay, I at least agree with you on third place, though. I actually have Candice Bergen in fourth, even though, well, she was not expected to get in. I remember you predicted her to get in. I did not. But then again, I mean, both Will and Grace and Murphy Brown are revivals, and Murphy Brown hasn't been the most successful, but still, the revival is a first-year show, while Will and Grace is a second year in its revival, and still is the biggest losing show in the history of the Globes.
True, but Murphy Brown's critical and audience reception has kind of been lukewarm at best. So
I know.
And I think with Deborah Messing, with her getting in, because I know a lot of people praised her performance in this one particular episode where she tells her father about when his friend sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager. Like, there are many people who are thinking that episode alone is the reason why she's nominated here, because it's like a very powerful moment. And I did watch the clip, and it is very powerful, even though that one scene is obviously way more dramatic than comedic. But considering the fact that I didn't think Will and Grace would get any nominations at all this year, considering the fact that last year they only got nominated for Eric McCormack and no one else. So I wasn't sure if
and comedy series, I believe.
Oh, did it? I forget.
I think it did, but I'm going to check. But yeah, and I believe if I remember correctly, I remember you predicted Eric McCormack to actually win.
Well, that's because I didn't know who to pick that year. Huh. So I just went with Gold Derby's choice. But I think so the fact that she was nominated this year shows that clearly voters are still watching the show.
Well, yes, that's a good point. And okay, sorry,
And plus, Will and Grace, even in its second revival season, critics still seem to have generally positive things to say about it.
And yes, Will and Grace was nominated for a comedy series last year.
Okay. So yeah.
Yes, and I also remember I did not predict Eric McCormack would win. I predicted the movie starred Kevin Bacon, and of course we both end up getting it wrong. And Aziz Ansari, pretty disgraced Aziz Ansari, ended up winning, even revealing how he apparently was paying attention to what his odds were like going in.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So now on to best limited series or TV movie.
All right, and the nominees are The Alienist, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, Escape at Dannemora, A Very English Scandal, and The Alienist.
Okay, I have Sharp Objects winning this because even though Gianni Versace is also a different installment of American Crime Story. I mean, still, the Globes already awarded American Crime Story 2 years ago when it was The People versus O.J. Simpson. But, I mean, not sure. Well, still, I mean, I have Sharp Objects winning this, and especially since, well, I mean, Grant, when it comes to limited series, well, they very rarely last more than one season. So, yes, and oh yeah, and Sharp Objects, I think it having a little more recently debuted compared to Gianni Versace, coupled with, especially, well, I mean, I will say, mild spoiler alert, I do have Gianni Versace and Sharp Objects, both each winning at least one acting prize. But yeah, I think if Sharp Objects were to win, at least give it a little more, I guess, momentum going into the Emmys coming up later this year. So where do you stand?
I also have Sharp Objects winning for all the same reasons, because it's more recent, it's more buzzy. It's been getting a lot of buzz, especially when it was releasing its episodes every week. Plus it's made by it was directed by the same guy who directed all the episodes of Big Little Lies, Jean-Marc Vallée.
Yeah.
Plus it's based on a highly acclaimed book, just like Big Little Lies was.
And in the case of Sharp Objects, it was by Gillian Flynn of Gone Girl fame.
Plus, has big name movie stars in it, with Amy Adams. So yeah, pretty much all those reasons are why I think it'll win here. But I do have The Assassination of Gianni Versace in second, and then Escape at Dannemora in third, because it's the more recent one. A Very English Scandal in fourth, and then The Alienist in fifth.
Exact same rankings as me.
All right. So now we move on to limited series movie actor.
Okay, the nominees there are Antonio Banderas, Genius Picasso, Daniel Bruhl, The Alienist, Darren Criss, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, Benedict Cumberbatch, Patrick Melrose, and Hugh Grant, A Very English Scandal. And I have Darren Criss repeating his Emmy win here.
Same here. Yeah. I think Gianni Versace, because I'm personally predicting both Sharp Objects and Gianni Versace will each win 2 categories apiece. Given that
same here.
The races are pretty close for both. So and given all the acclaim he's gotten for the role, I think this is Darren Criss's to lose, although I could see Hugh Grant possibly pulling an upset since I have him in second place because he's British and
if they'd like to throw a bone at Very English Scandal somewhere.
But I do have Benedict Cumberbatch in third, Antonio Banderas in fourth, and Daniel Bruhl in fifth.
Oh, okay. I can understand Daniel Bruhl being in last place since he was a surprise, but I actually have him in third, mainly because, well, The Alienist, unlike Patrick Melrose and Genius Picasso, did get in for TV, movie, and limited series. So I figured, hey, I guess maybe that helps him.
True, but The Alienist debuted all the way back in January of last year, whereas Patrick Melrose was a little more recent, and Patrick Melrose tackled more, I guess, noteworthy issues like substance abuse. And we know that substance abuse is often prime awards bait.
Well, yes. I mean, but yeah, I do have Benedict in fourth, and in fifth, Antonio Banderas.
I just think The Alienist just doesn't have a prayer, just because it was so long ago that, I don't know how many people remember it.
Well, yeah, that is a good point. So I guess now on to Best Actress in a Limited Series or Movie. The nominees are
Amy Adams, Sharp Objects, Patricia Arquette, Escape at Dannemora, Connie Britton, Dirty John, Laura Dern, The Tale, and Regina King, 7 Seconds.
And I think this is where Amy Adams will win an individual Globe this year.
Yep. I have her winning, and then I have Patricia Arquette in second place because she's the only other person whose show is also a nominee. Plus, it's the more her show is also the more recent one, fresh in voters' minds. Plus, she's playing a real person because Escape at Dannemora is based on a true story. Regina, and then I have Regina King in third, just because of her Emmy win and
which was a huge surprise.
And for the fact that she's also nominated on the film side for If Beale Street Could Talk.
Along with Amy Adams.
And then I have Laura Dern in fourth place, and then Connie Britton in fifth, mainly because her nomination came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I have the exact same rankings as you as well there.
All right, so next
now
up
is Best Supporting Actor in a TV series, miniseries, or movies, because it's all catch-all when it comes to the supporting categories. So the nominees there are Alan Arkin, The Kominsky Method, Kieran Culkin, Succession, Edgar Ramirez, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, Ben Whishaw, A Very English Scandal, and Henry Winkler, Barry. And I have Henry Winkler winning this. I think he's the TV icon. He's fresh off his Emmy win, so I think he'll repeat here.
Same here. This is my second super bet. I have Henry Winkler winning, and then I have Ben Whishaw in a very close second place. Then I have Alan Arkin in third, Edgar Ramirez in fourth, and then Kieran Culkin in fifth.
The second consecutive category where you and I have the exact same rankings.
All right, well, let's see if we have it for the final category, which is Best Supporting Actress in a TV series, miniseries, or TV movie. And the nominees are Alex Borstein, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Patricia Clarkson, Sharp Objects, Penelope Cruz, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story, Tandy Newton, Westworld, and Yvonne Strahovski, The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay, so this is my second super bet, and that's Penelope Cruz for Gianni Versace. I mean, she kind of checks off all the boxes. She's the movie star. She's the international star. She's, Hispanic. And, and this is the second one I have for Gianni Versace.
Mm-hmm. Plus, she's never won a Golden Globe before.
Oh yeah, because even though she obviously went on to win the Oscar for Vicky Cristina Barcelona, well, she did not win the Globe because, well, Kate Winslet pretty much swept through both her categories that year. She won supporting for The Reader, while she won lead for Revolutionary Road, even though at the Oscars she was nominated in and won as lead for The Reader.
Mm-hmm. Then I have Patricia Clarkson in second place, Alex Borstein in third, Tandy Newton in fourth, and then Yvonne Strahovski in fifth.
What a great way to end our discussion on predictions, because this is the third consecutive category where you and I have the exact same rankings.
I don't think we've ever had this many consecutive rankings before.
Wow. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Especially not in a row.
Yeah. So that just about covers all the categories in both sides at the Golden Globes. So now, before we end, I should, of course, ask now. Okay, so how do you think Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh are going to do as hosts tomorrow night?
Well, considering that I didn't think they were furthest from my mind as potential hosts, their announcement came as a complete surprise to me. I honestly don't know how they'll do. I mean, I'm willing to see, because with Sandra Oh, she's always more associated with dramas than comedies. Mm-hmm. So that her announcement in particular was a surprise for me. So I mean, I don't really have any strong opinions at this point of whether I'm excited or not. I'm just going to see how it goes.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm curious. What did you think of Andy Samberg's stint as Golden Globe host a few years ago? Oh, no, not Golden Globe, Emmy host a few years ago.
He was fine. I mean, he was not totally awful, but not all that great either.
Mm-hmm. And
he was certainly better than Michael Che and Colin Yost from last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't put him up there with people like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or Seth Meyers.
Well, yeah, and what did you think of their? In fact, speaking of this last year's Emmys, what did you think of Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh's, I guess, moments as presenters?
It was interesting. Definitely one of the, I guess, better presenting segments, considering her Sandra Oh tearing the envelope in half was completely out of left field.
Yeah,
And
well,
it reminded me of the bit when Kirk and Michael Douglas famously presented Best Picture to Chicago, and they open it. Well, first Michael said to his father, "You're supposed to say, and the Oscar goes to," and he says, "And
and
the
the
winner,"
winner is,
and he rips it in half, and then they
yeah.
put it together and announce Chicago.
Yeah, and in fact, I even remember seeing, on on one of the Blu-ray features of the most recent Blu-ray release of Chicago, that I believe it was Rob Marshall talking about that when Kirk Douglas read the envelope, Rob thought at first that Kirk was disappointed that Chicago didn't win.
Well, I don't. Well, who knows why he did that? But maybe they were planning to do it. I don't know. That's something I'd like to ask them if that was a pre-planned thing or not. But I remember watching the clip before that all came out. Kirk is like, "This is my son Michael. He has 2 awards, but I'm still young."
Hmm.
Because
Well,
Kirk Douglas has only ever gotten an honorary Oscar. He's lost all his competitive nominations.
mhm. Yeah, so
Whereas Michael Douglas, he's another individual. He's only been nominated for an Oscar twice, but he won each time.
yeah, as producer on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and as actor in Wall Street.
hmm Yeah. So I mean, and that's one thing I was curious about with Sandra Oh and Andy Samberg. Was that something they deliberately planned to do, or was that like an impulsive, spur of the moment thing?
Well, who
It makes
knows?
me wonder. It makes me wonder if something like that will happen again this time.
Well, we shall see.
Mhm.
Alex, thank you for joining me to discuss our predictions, and thank you everyone for watching. And I guess good luck to you all in your Golden Globe predictions.
All right, and then I guess should we do another similar slugfest for the Critics' Choice next week?
Um, well, um, okay, though probably won't be live on YouTube or anything, but yeah, I guess we could.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you all at least back here for our SAG slugfests.
Okay, bye.
Bye.